Incredible twist. Struggling mom opens her heart to twin girls. Discover their millionaire father. Sarah wiped the table clean, the scent of burnt coffee and damp clothes clinging to her like a second skin. The relentless downpour outside resonated with her mood, an endless river of worries streaming through her mind. Just that morning, she'd found her last paycheck barely covered groceries, leaving barely enough for the twins' school supplies. The thought of falling short yet again gnawed at her insides. Emily and Lily deserved a better life than this. They deserved everything. She was tired. Tired of feeling guilty. Tired of constant uncertainty. Tired of feeling like she could barely keep afloat. As she cleaned, Sarah couldn't shake the weight of disappointment lurking in her chest. Her father's sudden passing had blown a hole in her life, a loss that echoed through every crevice of her existence. Alone, she had become the provider, the sole protector of their little family. But could she be both mother and father? All she wanted was to ensure Emma and Lily's future, and yet every road she took seemed to lead back to financial desperation. Could reaching out to a brother she never knew existed really be the answer? Her heart surged with an unsettling mix of hope and shame. She blinked the memories from her mind and focused on the clatter of plates. But the notion of her brother, a distant billionaire, sat heavy on her shoulders. Desperation hugged her tightly, whispering promises of an escape. If only she could connect with him, perhaps their lives could change. But what would it mean for her? She could already hear the scornful murmurs from people who knew her. A waitress dragging her past into the realm of affluence. Would accepting even a dime of his wealth mean abandoning her girl's pride, her self-sufficiency? Those questions twisted in her gut, paralyzing her with indecision. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night of the fundraising event drew near, and with it surged a swirl of anguish within her. The local talents sang and celebrated while she allowed herself to feel the creeping tension rising from the pit of her stomach. The people she adored, her community, were gleefully unaware of the turmoil swirling inside her. To accept her brother's help would mean facing not only fear but societal judgments. She didn't belong among his world of wealth and privilege, yet she couldn't shake the image of her daughters, bright-eyed and hopeful, dreaming of a future that seemed so close, yet so unattainable. Just as the band struck a drumbeat that matched the racing pulse in her chest, Sarah overheard fragments of a conversation. Whispers of family secrets tied to her father, the burden of the unspoken heavy enough to throw her world into chaos. What could be lurking beneath the surface of their family history? Her heart quickened, her mind racing to connect the dots. Anxiety clawed at her thoughts, and as the laughter and cheer of the event buzzed around her, she stood on the brink of change. Torn between her fractured sense of identity and the possibility of renewal, she battled her emotions. Would she choose the shield of pride or thrust herself into the uncharted waters of acceptance, fearing what it might cost her? The choices loomed larger than life, and in that moment, she realized she was standing at a crossroad that could either anchor her or set her free. As the last notes of the evening's festivities faded, Sarah found herself standing outside, rain-soaked and contemplative. The air felt charged, crackling with unease and promise. She opened her phone, staring at the message draft to her brother. It was a lifeline, yet the very idea of reaching out set her nerves ablaze. Would he even want to hear from her? Every unanswered question clawed at her resolve. In her mind, echoes of people she barely knew flared to life, voices of judgment cloaked in kindness. "Why would he help you?" they'd say, or worse, "You're just trying to cash in." Yet their opinions threatened to drown out the stark reality she faced. Bills piling up, food being rationed, her daughter's bright imaginations clashing against harsh limitations. That truth peeled back layers of shame and pride, exposing raw need. She inhaled the chilled air, trying to breathe away the fear. If her father had kept such an important secret from her, her brother's existence, what other truths lay buried? Suddenly she felt drawn to the idea that uncovering these truths could not only provide answers about her family, but also grant her the strength to transform her life. In that moment, anger flared within her. Why had she endured incessant hardship when there was potential for something more? With a surge of determination, Sarah made a choice. She would not shy away in fear. Instead, she would grasp the unseen threads linking her to her brother. After all, if her father had concealed this part of her life, perhaps it was time to pull away the veil and claim it for herself, claim it for her girls. The drive home was automatic, but her thoughts were racing, strategies forming without her consent. How could she approach him? Should she be direct or tentative? Perhaps an introduction would soften the monumental distance between them. But what if he rejected her? Each iteration of the potential encounter morphed in her mind, yet the idea of standing before a billionaire, her brother, felt more surreal by the moment. Arriving home, she found the twins snuggled in their blankets, their small bodies rising and falling with gentle breaths. The sight both soothed and fired her resolve. She wanted to give them a world where rain didn't symbolize something dark, but something brimming with wonder and possibility. Their innate hope was her guiding light. She squared her shoulders. She wouldn't just survive, she'd thrive. But revealing her plan to reach out to her brother loomed over her like a storm cloud. She would need to disclose her search for him when she'd barely sorted out her own feelings about it. Was this a betrayal of their father's memory, or the first step to something better? Her internal conflict churned as she paced the living room, the weight of her decisions pressing heavily against her chest. Staring into the living room mirror, she saw her reflection. Not just a weary mother, but a determined woman willing to risk everything for the sake of her family. Empowered by the very fears that once anchored her, Sarah turned her gaze to the phone again, readying herself to hit send on the message that could change everything. But her hand hesitated, caught in the snare of uncertainty. The moment hung in the air, pregnant with possibility. Would she step forward into a world that could cradle her, or retreat back into the familiar unease of poverty? The choice was mind-bending. Then, out of the depths of ambition and anxiety, clarity pierced her mind. The words began to flow as she set her fingers against the screen, hovering across the keypad, and with that she began typing, one word at a time, challenging her fears, confronting the shadows of unknown family ties. But before she could finish, another thought registered. What if her brother wasn't the only secret waiting to be uncovered? What else had her father hidden? With her heart racing, she hit send. The message began its journey, yet uncertainty lingered like a second skin. A new path had been undertaken, but what awaited her at the other end? The thrum of the message being sent reverberated in her chest, a strange mix of excitement and trepidation. It felt as though time had paused, the world around her fading into mere background noise. Would he respond? That question gnawed at her, filling the silence with a cacophony of doubt. In the hours that followed, anticipation twisted into impatience. She scrolled through her phone, checking for notifications, but the screen remained blank. Each time an alert blinked, her heart leaped before deflating at the sight of something trivial. The reality of her situation sunk deeper. Here she was, a woman holding the weight of possibility, yet tethered to her past. The irritation at the creeping doubts began to morph into a resolve. One wrong step had defined so much of her life, but she wouldn't let inaction define her future. The next morning dawned bright and fresh, the aftermath of the rain leaving a crispness in the air. As she sipped her coffee, she watched her twins intently. Their laughter dancing through the house felt like a balm for her restless heart. Their joy reminded her of the stakes, igniting a fire within her. She envisioned herself wrapped in their optimism, even if the realities outside felt indifferent. "Mommy, let's paint!" one of the girls chirped, her face lighting up with excitement. "Sure, let's make some magic," Sarah replied, forcing a smile that still held remnants of her inner turmoil. As they painted, colors bursting across the canvas, Sarah found a moment of introspection among the giggles. There was something peaceful in the strokes of the brush, a rhythm to the chaos they created. She could channel this focus into her life. Painting with the girls was a reminder of all she could offer. If only she could unlock the door to her brother, it would only be the beginning. Midway through their artistic endeavor, her phone chimed. Heart racing, she dropped her brush and glanced over, breath hitching in her throat. A response. She hovered over the screen, reading and rereading the message. He had seen it. There was no acknowledgement, just a succinct, "I'm busy, can't talk now." The words hit her like a slap. No warmth, no invitation, just an abrupt wall. Was that it? Had she reached out only to be met with indifference? Anger flared within her, simmering beneath the surface and igniting her resolve. Was coming into contact with him only to be met with brusquer rejection the extent of her fate? No, there had to be more to this. With unexpected energy coursing through her, she decided that this was merely the first round in an unknown battle. Taking back control wasn't about playing the victim, it was about claiming her narrative. There was so much more unanswered about her brother, her family history. What other truths about their father lingered in silence? She put the finishing touches on the girl's artwork and carefully placed it aside, an expression of both triumph and vulnerability. In that moment, Sarah made another decision. She would not stop at a single message. Instead, she would dig deeper, uncovering more, not only to understand her brother, but also to understand herself. She needed to confront this hidden legacy and perhaps redefine her identity along the way. Fueled by newfound determination, she crafted another message, not just an introduction, but an invitation to a deeper dialogue about their family. Before hitting send, she paused, reflecting on her approach. Would he see her not as a burden, but as a sister worthy of connection? As she hit send, a wave of possibility rushed through her. This time she wasn't just reaching out, she was claiming her space in the world. The momentum propelling her forward felt undeniably alive. But as she reflected on the unfolding situation, the nagging question returned. Was she ready to face whatever revelation might come from this journey? The pursuit of familial ties could either empower her or unravel her further. And in that tension, she grasped for a deeper understanding, aware that the journey ahead might prove more complex than she'd anticipated. She needed to be prepared, for every discovery could lead her further into a reality she was ill-equipped for, or into an inevitable confrontation with the truths she had always avoided. What awaited her? Would she embrace the unknown, or would the enormity of her search prove too daunting? Time would tell, and with every heartbeat she realized the hardest part was just beginning. Sarah's focus turned inward, her thoughts spiraling as she walked through the motions of her day. After sending the message, a strange mix of exhilaration and fear had settled over her like a heavy fog. What if he did respond? What if the truths she sought were blacker than her worst fears? She needed to brace herself for any outcome. The rhythm of her daily life, with the twins' laughter echoing off the walls and plates clattering in the background, felt disjointed, a stark contrast to the whirlwind inside her mind. The mundane tasks of parenting, down to the smallest details, had taken on a new weight. Every moment felt like preparation for something important, like gathering supplies before heading into uncertain territory. As the week wore on, she found herself obsessively checking her phone, though she could feel the simmering frustration at the back of her mind. His response hung over her, an unfinished thought. She'd never realized the depth of her need to connect until now. Her mind chased after her brother's possible reactions, weighing them against the hopes she harbored for understanding and reconciliation. In a moment of clarity, while balancing a plate stacked high with fruit for the girls, it struck her. What if she approached this entirely differently? Instead of seeking her brother's openness, what if she initiated her own journey of discovery? Maybe the key wasn't just about reaching out to him, but also about delving headfirst into her own story. What pieces of herself had she yet to understand? With renewed determination fueling her thoughts, she spent the next few evenings diving into her family history. Old letters, photographs, anything she could find in the archives held within the confines of her memory. It became a frantic hunt for context, each piece painting a larger portrait of the family she had grown up with. Tremors of both nostalgia and anger surged as she sifted through reminders of her father, who remained a ghost in her life, still holding sway over her expectations and fears. The twins found her engrossed in a pile of dusty albums one night, urging her to tell them stories of their grandfather, a man they had never met. As she shared, weaving tales of his charm and flaws, something unexpected washed over her. She discovered her voice resonated powerfully with enthusiasm, drawing the girls into a past that felt both distant and tangible. This storytelling opened her eyes to the legacy she was providing, shaping the twins' understanding of family in the process. She realized that defining their past could serve as a stepping stone to defining her future, one where she recognized her value in the tapestry of their family history. Later, sitting on the porch under a blanket of stars, she felt the stirring of a plan take form. She would secure her sense of self first. It was a radical notion, shifting from seeking her brother's validation to fortifying her own identity. What if she reached out with a different message, one tinged with her own narrative? A message that illustrated not just her quest, but how essential it was for her to reclaim her past. That night, filled with fresh courage, Sarah wrote an email to her brother, not just to connect but to showcase who she had become in this journey of self-discovery. It would convey her strength, fortified by memories, and clarify her intentions and visions for their relationship. There was still uncertainty about his reactions, but with every keystroke, she felt the slight burn of fear ebb away, replaced by burgeoning excitement. Her heart raced as she hit send, but a new question lingered in her mind. What would this new step mean for her journey? Would asserting herself invite him closer, or would it push him away further? Either way, she was pushing forward into uncharted territory, ready to unearth the connections that had remained buried for far too long. As she contemplated the response, immediate or delayed, she knew she was ready to face what came next. But how would her next move reshape the narrative they shared? And as the lights twinkled overhead, a haunting thought crystallized. Might this journey into her family history lead her deeper than she'd imagined? The following day, a thump against the door startled her. A delivery? Or perhaps a sign that something was shifting in her world. The thump against the door reverberated through Sarah's thoughts, jarring her from the reverie of anticipation and uncertainty. She hesitated for a moment, hesitant to abandon the cocoon of her introspection, yet curiosity propelled her to the door. Her fingers brushed against the smooth surface of the wooden door as she pulled it open, revealing a small cardboard package, unassuming but loaded with potential. She carried the parcel into the living room, a bubbling tension sparking behind her ribs. The twins, eyes wide with interest, raced over, eager to discover its secrets. Sarah's heart raced with the dual thrill of potential discovery and the weight of the unknown. As she pried open the box, a flutter of hope danced in her chest. Within was a collection of old photographs and documents, her grandfather's memoirs, it seemed, long thought to be lost to time. As she spread the items across the coffee table, they gleamed with a significance that resonated deep within her. Page by page, story by story, her grandfather's life unfolded before her like a flower blooming, each word steeped in courage, struggle, and ultimately, triumph. With every letter she read, Sarah felt fragments of herself being reflected back, as if the man she only knew through her mother's stories was reaching across generations, connecting with her in a way words had failed to capture until now. The twins climbed onto the couch beside her, quick to sense the shift in atmosphere. Each photo was an invitation to comment, to ask questions, to weave their understanding of family tighter. At that moment, Sarah confronted the realization that her journey wasn't just about rediscovering her roots, but also about shaping the legacy she would leave for her children. She longed for them to absorb the strength of their heritage. Not only the smiles caught in frames, but the resilience that formed the backbone of their ancestors. There was power in her grandfather's words, courage in adversity, lessons in failure, and joy in the mundane. As she shared the stories behind the photographs, her voice trembled with a newfound passion. No longer merely recounting tales for the twins, she began to see these stories as the building blocks of identity, not just for herself, but for them as well. Her father may have cast a long shadow, but she felt empowered to illuminate a different path forward, one where the twins could learn from both the triumphs and the tribulations of their family's past. After hours of immersion, Sarah compiled the fragments into a small booklet, a narrative crafted from the many voices that defined her lineage. This project became an artifact of connection, a tangible manifestation of the work she had begun to do within herself, solidifying her understanding that she belonged to something greater than just her personal struggles. The realization led her to consider, how could this legacy influence her communication with her brother? Would it pave the way for a deeper reevaluation of their shared past? Just as she began contemplating this deeper connection, a familiar vibration interrupted her thoughts. Her phone lit up, displaying her brother's name. He had responded. The weight of the moment loomed as Sarah's heart raced. Would this be an acknowledgement of their intertwined histories, or another installment of silence? Slowly she peeled back the uncertainty, reaching for the phone. As she tapped on the notification, she couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay hidden behind his words would set the course for both their futures, together or apart. What truths would she uncover in his reply, and how would they change the narrative she now felt equipped to weave? The stakes had never been higher, and Sarah braced herself, knowing that this moment could ignite a change she had long craved. Would this catalyst open doors she thought were nailed shut, or would it send her crashing backward into doubt? She pressed the screen, her breath held in suspended anticipation. The screen illuminated Sarah's expression as she absorbed her brother's message. The words blazed like a beacon of confrontation, demanding attention. "We need to talk, Sarah, about Mom, and everything that happened." Each letter felt like a jolt to her system, igniting a tangled web of emotions in her. "Think, Sarah." She paced around the living room, the photos still scattered on the coffee table. A reminder of her grandfather's resilience, a testament to strength mingled with vulnerability. How could she navigate this conversation? The ache of years of silence lingered, but a surge of determination accompanied it. This was a chance to finally bridge the gap forged by years of misunderstandings and buried grievances. Her thoughts spiraled. She envisioned the family gatherings that had become tensions simmering beneath the surface, the awkward questions that never got asked. What if this time she could lay the foundation for real dialogue? It required courage, a quality she'd just begun to recognize within herself through her grandfather's stories. If he could confront adversity with grace, why couldn't she reach out to her brother? But doubt lingered like an unwelcome shadow. What if he wasn't ready? What if this led to another painful exchange, another moment of retreat? As she battled these thoughts, a resolute wave swept over her. This uncertainty could not deter her now. This was not only about addressing the patches of their past, but charting a new course for their future. For the twins, she had to persevere. With clenched fists and determination coursing through her veins, she sprang into action. Sarah raised her phone once more and typed a response, her fingers dancing over the screen. "I agree. When can we meet?" Each word felt like stepping onto a stretch of uncharted terrain, the landscape of their shared history darker than she wished to remember, yet glimmering with potential. As she sent the message, a mix of fear and empowerment surged within her. The act of reaching out signified not just an acknowledgement of their past, but also a readiness to forge a new understanding. It was like holding a mirror to her responsibilities, as a sister, as a mother, as a person ready to weave her own narrative. The days that followed were charged with a nervous energy. Sarah felt the unsettling pull of anticipated confrontation mixing with the thrill of possibility. The twins, blissfully unaware of the brewing emotional storm, sensed the shift in their mother. They sought her attention, drawing her back to the grounded joys of the present, even as she grappled with looming uncertainty. In quiet moments between their calls, she would sit with her grandfather's memoirs, tracing his words as if they were a map leading her through difficult terrain. She'd draw strength from stories of bravery, knowing she could embody that spirit. Her resolve solidified with each recollection. This was her heritage, her birthright, the capacity to confront challenges, to navigate the complexities of family bonds with courage. Just as Sarah prepared for the impending conversation, the twins approached her, holding a drawing they had crafted in the midst of her contemplation. It depicted a united family, vibrant and intertwined, a vision of love built on shared understanding. As they held it up, their excitement rippled through her, igniting warmth in a cold void of uncertainty. Caught between the past and their hopeful future, Sarah felt a pivotal moment unfurling. The impending meeting with her brother could either shatter old barriers or redefine their connection. Was she ready for the fragile truths hidden within their shared history? She considered the upcoming conversation with a mix of anticipation and trepidation. Would it reveal the deeper wounds, or perhaps offer a path towards healing? The time had come for her to face not only her brother, but the legacy she yearned to establish. And as she locked eyes with the hopeful art piece in her hands, she whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning." The day arrived with a shroud of gray clouds, as if the world itself sensed the weight of Sarah's impending conversation. She stood in front of the mirror, attempting various expressions as she practiced what she might say. Her reflection stared back with a mix of determination and fear, showcasing the internal struggles she felt. It was odd how the room felt both too small and too vast, like her emotions were trying to fill every corner, yet felt stifled in their confinement. Gathering her thoughts, she replayed the messages exchanged with her brother, each one layered with unspoken words and unaddressed sentiments. Recognition of their shared history, a bittersweet tapestry woven by time, had ignited something within her. Fear nudged her, warning her against the fate of vulnerability, yet she pushed it down. She had decided to be brave, and a part of that bravery was confronting what she had long avoided. A sudden din brought her back to the present. The twins were playing in the living room, their laughter like sunlight breaking through the oppressive clouds. She felt a tug in her heart, a reminder of why she had to engage in this difficult dialogue. They deserved a family dynamic that was not just functional, but also filled with understanding and love. It inspired her to see herself as more than just an actor in her own story. She was also the writer, setting the stage for future generations. Grabbing her coat and taking a deep breath, Sarah shut the door behind her and stepped into the damp air. Each step toward the cafe felt heavy but purposeful. With each passing block, self-doubt began to creep back in. Was she strong enough to endure the truths that might emerge? What if her brother's anger fractured her hopes of reconciliation? As she entered the cafe, the scent of coffee mingled with baked goods, wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. Her brother was seated at a table in the far corner, looking pensive, his hands wrapped around a steaming mug. The sight of him, familiar yet foreign, brought a wave of nostalgia mingled with apprehension. "Hey," she greeted hesitantly, sliding into the seat across from him. "Hi," he replied, his voice measured. There was an edge to his tone, a mixture of vulnerability and resolve that mirrored her own. They exchanged a silence that spoke volumes. Memories swirled around them like ghosts, family gatherings, whispered arguments, silenced fears. Sarah sensed it was the moment to unravel the cords binding their hearts, to address the spaces left unspoken. "Do you remember the last time we talked about Mom?" she ventured, testing the waters. His eyebrows furrowed, and she could almost see the gears turning in his mind. "You mean the fight?" "It wasn't just a fight," she countered, a tremor lacing her voice. "It was everything that's been left unresolved. Maybe we can finally unpack that together." His defenses momentarily dropped, revealing fleeting vulnerability behind brimming anger. "Why now? You were always the one avoiding these conversations." "Because I can't do it alone anymore," she confessed, feeling the walls closing in around her. "I owe it to us, to the twins. We have to confront the chaos instead of just sidestepping it." For a brief moment his gaze softened, but the storm of their past swirled between them. The conversation stepped cautiously forward, each question pulling at a delicate thread woven throughout their lives. As they delved deeper, catalyzed by shared pain and anger, Sarah unearthed her brother's fears and grieved hopes. Something inside her snapped into focus. She recognized the power of vulnerability. It became clear that in unearthing these delicate truths, she was not merely reshaping her family dynamic, but also transforming into someone capable of leading, of facilitating change. The minutes turned into an hour, marked by breakthrough moments that hovered on the edge of clarity. Yet, as they began to unravel one layer, The complexities of their history only seemed to deepen. Sarah's heart raced as she sensed both the progress they were making and the weight of more difficult conversations yet to come. Just as she gathered the strength to voice a new revelation, another thought struck her. What if their past held secrets larger than they both anticipated? Secrets that could intertwine their lives forever. Would they be ready to face not just the present, but also the echoes of their shared past? The air in the cafe thickened, and she realized this was more than just a conversation about their mother. This was a confrontation with her fears, her identity, and perhaps even a future she had yet to envision. "Yes, we need to talk about Mom," she said finally. "But we can't ignore what's at stake for us as well." Her brother's eyes mirrored her own turmoil, hinting at buried truths waiting to break free. With that shared understanding lingering in the air, Sarah wondered if the exploration of their past might lead them to confront more than just memories. They might uncover the courage to redefine who they would become as a family. Next time, the echoes of their conversation might pull back layers they weren't prepared to confront, and with it, a truth that could change everything. As the conversation lingered, Sarah felt the weight of the unsaid words pressing heavily against her chest, binding her to this moment. She searched her brother's eyes for a spark of understanding, a flicker of connection, yet instead found a tumult of emotions flaring just beneath the surface. "Listen," she began, trying to steady her voice. "We can't keep deflecting. The pain we've avoided acknowledging has only festered. I want to break this cycle, not just for us, but for the twins. They deserve to see their family whole, not fractured by silence." Her brother leaned back, his posture rigid, as if bracing for impact. "Isn't this just reopening old wounds? You've always wanted to smooth things over. You think a tidy conversation will fix years of neglect?" The accusation hit her squarely. She wanted to snap back, to defend her intentions, but instead, she felt a crack in her facade. "It's more than that. I've spent too long living in the shadow of our past," she said, her breathing quickening. "Trying to be the peacemaker while feeling trapped by the expectations placed on me." His gaze bore into hers, and she could see fragments of his own childhood reflected back. "Then what do you propose we do?" Clarity began to wash over her, fueled by an unyielding determination. "We can explore our hurt so we can reclaim our future. Let's bring these conversations out into the light. Maybe we'll discover what we've sacrificed to maintain the peace, and who we are beneath the weight of it all." "Sounds poetic, but that's just words," he retorted, frustration spilling into his voice like a storm. "What will it change? Will it magically make Mom's absence hurt less?" The challenge ignited a spark within her. "No, but it might help us understand it better. I've never stopped needing you, especially after she left. If we can face this together, we'll forge a new kind of relationship. One where we don't dance around old grievances and fear." "That's a big ask," he said, uncertainty making his words heavy, as if conceding a battle he had fought for too long. "Then let's take it step by step. Start with one truth. Whatever you're holding back, lay it bare. I promise to do the same." The intensity of her own challenge surprised her, but there was no room for retreat now. His breath caught, and she could sense his internal struggle. The mere suggestion of laying their truths out in the open was like stirring dormant embers, cautious yet feverish with potential. "I just don't know if I can," he finally admitted, the vulnerability in his voice softening the air around them. "Maybe we can do this together. You're not alone in this. Remember, being vulnerable doesn't make us weak. It exposes who we really are." This call to bravery was new territory for both of them, and Sarah felt the stakes rising. She wasn't just redefining her relationship with her brother, she was pushing against the confines of her own anxieties. As the conversation deepened, memories bled into the present. He spoke of their childhood, of abandonment, and the weight of silence that tethered them. Each revelation unearthed new layers of his pain and her guilt, yet with every shared memory, they began to construct a bridge toward understanding. But just as sparks of connection brightened their dialogue, a shadow loomed at the edges of their breakthroughs. Questions began to form, unsettling ones that whispered through her mind, asking what truths remained hidden, what larger implications lay beneath the surface. With each passing moment, she sensed that they were standing on the brink of something monumental, a realization that shifted the foundation they borrowed from their shared past. But the more they unearthed, the more perilous their journey appeared, as hidden secrets threatened to unravel everything they thought they understood. As an uneasy silence fell between them, Sarah felt the weight of their shared history and uncharted future pressing heavier than ever. They had taken the first step, yet she couldn't quite shake the feeling that deeper revelations awaited them, truths that could redefine not just their relationship, but the very essence of who they had become. "Are we ready for this?" she wondered aloud, not just to her brother but to herself. Their eyes met, laden with something neither of them could articulate, hinting at redefined roles and hidden fears. She felt it then, a tremor of anticipation coiling within her. This wasn't just an exploration of their past anymore. It was a quest for clarity, for purpose. In that charged moment, Sarah realized they were on the cusp of a significant turning point, both personally and relationally. Just how far were they willing to go to confront what they had always avoided? The question lingered in the air, pregnant with possibility and apprehension. She had opened a door, and what lay beyond it could reshape everything they thought they knew about themselves. What awaited them might not just be healing, but an encounter with unsettling truths that would challenge their very identities. With the tension palpable between them, she took a breath, bracing herself for what lay ahead. What if we aren't just dealing with our mother's impact? What if there's more to uncover? As the unspoken heavy challenge hung uncomfortably in the air, Sarah felt a shift, a call to action that might ignite a path toward resolution, or plunge them deeper into uncertainty. Where would their journey lead them, and what new realities would they have to face? The silence that enveloped them was thick, drowning out the noise of the world beyond the walls of the cramped living room. Sarah's heart raced as her brother's eyes darted away, betraying an internal wrestling match. She could sense the enormity of their conversation pressing on both of them like an impending storm, ready to burst. "Maybe we should start with Mom," he finally offered, the words coming out in a rush, almost as if he feared the weight of them if delayed. "But only if you promise not to play therapist this time." "I won't," she replied, her tone firm yet softer than before. "I can't promise to have all the answers, but I can promise to listen." "What kind of story are we trying to craft here?" he asked, skepticism lacing his voice. "Just a neat little narrative about how we found peace with her disappearance?" "No," she insisted, leaning forward, desperate to bridge the chasm that had widened over the years. "We're not writing a fairy tale. This is real, and it's painful. I want us to understand how we got here, the decisions we made, the sacrifices we accepted." He nodded, yet doubt etched deep lines on his face. "You know it's not just about her. It's about us, how we chose to deal with it." "Exactly," she replied. "We channel pain differently. You buried it. I tried to smooth it over." A flicker of realization sparked in her. But hiding our hurt doesn't erase it. If anything, it festers. Sighing heavily, he ran a hand through his hair. "Fine then. Let's go back to the day she left, when everything changed." His voice trembled slightly, cracking the facade he had been maintaining. As Sarah recounted memories of that fateful day, her voice steadied. She spoke of the unease that had filled their home, the silent dinners, the unanswered phone calls. She dug deep, resisting the urge to skirt around the painful spots. With each detail, her brother began to piece together his own recollections, and slowly, the air lightened with shared understanding. Sarah could see him grappling with the weight of those memories, confessing to feelings of abandonment she had never understood he harbored. "I thought it was my fault," he whispered, eyes blinking back the swell of tears. "I thought if I had been better, maybe she wouldn't have left." "No, she chose to leave, and that was her decision, not yours," Sarah interjected, pushing the empathy she felt for his struggles into her voice. It struck her then. This journey into their past wasn't just about resolving the pain of their mother's absence, but also facing the guilt and blame that had formed like chains around them. What she uncovered within herself sent tremors through her core. Accepting her own worth apart from the family dramas had been a shadowed struggle. Her dedication to healing her relationship with her brother inherently meant dismantling her own fortified barriers. Why do we cling to this blame? She pondered aloud, not expecting an answer. Because it's easier, he replied grimly. It keeps us in the same pattern. If we blame ourselves, we feel like we're in control, even if it's a false control. She sensed a pivotal moment arising, a juncture where they could either remain stagnant or propel themselves into uncharted territory. But this needs to change, she asserted. We need to confront how we hurt each other by failing to communicate. I refuse to let the past define us anymore. His gaze lifted from the ground, and she saw a flicker of hope mixed with fear. You really think we can navigate this? That we have a chance to rewrite our future? The vulnerability in her brother's eyes mirrored her own rising determination. Yes, but we have to do it together. There's a chance not just to heal our wounds, but to discover who we truly are when we shed this familial burden. As the conversation shifted toward their shared aspirations, Sarah realized the magnitude of what lay ahead. Together, they could forge an understanding, redefine their family unit, and work toward a healthier relationship. Yet, as the storm of their connection settled, an inkling of doubt resurfaced, prodding at the edges of her resolve. Despite the budding sense of camaraderie, what other shadows lay hidden in the corners of their communication? And could the truths they were beginning to confront truly liberate them, or would they find fragments of their pasts too heavy to carry forward? Are we truly ready to confront everything? She asked, swallowing hard. What if we open this door, and everything we feared comes rushing in to haunt us? His expression hardened, and she could tell he felt the weight of that question just as keenly. Only one way to find out, he replied, a flash of determination sparking within him. Sarah felt the gravity of their journey deepen, uncertainty slicing through the hopefulness that had begun to bloom. The upcoming revelations loomed ahead like a dark horizon, promising to challenge their newly forming bond. With a collective breath drawn in, they stepped toward their future, unaware of the truths awaiting them. Would their journey lead to enlightenment or reveal more scars than what they believed healed? Only time would tell what the next steps would uncover. As the weight of their conversation thickened in the air, Sarah felt a determined clarity surge within her. Re-examining the array of emotions swirling before her, she understood that this dialogue was not merely an exchange of words, but the genesis of a new beginning, an opportunity to redefine both herself and her relationship with her brother. Let's be honest with ourselves, she urged, her voice steady despite her racing heart. We've both carried the burden of our family's silence for too long, avoiding the truths that could set us free. It's time we share not only the pain but also the ambitions and dreams that lie beneath it. Her brother's brow furrowed, his demeanor shifting as he considered her words. Are you suggesting we really pull back the curtain? Yes, she replied without hesitation, a fresh surge of confidence infusing her words. This isn't about blame. It's about understanding how we can transform this narrative together. It's about healing. Our parents' choices shouldn't dictate how we navigate our own lives anymore. He fell silent, and in that silence, a vulnerability shifted between them. Sarah sensed that he was weighing her proposition, perhaps even contemplating the enormity of what it could mean for their relationship. In that moment, she felt an immense sense of responsibility, the desire to prove both to him and herself that they could rise from the shadows of their collective past, reshaping it into something powerful. Let's start with sharing what we've wanted to say but never did, he responded, gesturing for her to proceed. What's one thing you wish you could tell me? Taking a deep breath, Sarah began. When I lost Dad, I drowned in confusion. I didn't understand how to navigate that grief. I sought to fill that void by shouldering everything, trying to be the rock for all of us. But it suffocated me. I thought burying my feelings would help the twins grow up without the weight of loss. Instead, it clouded my judgment and haunted my parenting. Her brother sat in stunned silence, and she watched as the recognition dawned across his face. I never knew, he murmured. I thought you had it all together. That's what I wanted you to think, she admitted, letting out a breath she didn't know she was holding. But my mask made it harder for you to open up. I realize now that my fear of being vulnerable cost us both. It was like building a wall instead of a bridge. All I wanted was to protect us, but I isolated you in the process." He nodded slowly, a trace of understanding crossing his features. "And I was too angry to see it. Mom's leaving turned our family into strangers. I pushed you away instead of trusting you to share my burden." The realization hung between them, a moment forged in shared wounds and a courageous intent to heal. "I'm ready to confront the heavy truths," Sarah continued. "I can't undo the past, but the twins deserve a family legacy that reflects strength, resilience, and hope, not just loss. If we can acknowledge our hurt, we can reclaim our identities." Her brother's expression softened, and she felt the walls between them begin to collapse. "You're right. It's no longer just about Mom's absence, but how we rise above it. Let's rewrite our future as co-authors, not as adversaries." With that statement, something within Sarah cracked wide open, allowing in not just hope, but a tangible belief that they could reshape their familial dynamics. For the first time in years, she felt a warmth radiating from the connection they were forging. As the minutes passed, they dove deeper into their shared history, unraveling agonized truths that had lingered unaddressed. Each revelation marked a step away from silence, their narrative shifting into one of shared vulnerability. From pieces of shattered dreams to visions of what could be, they began acknowledging not just the pain, but their aspirations to strive for something greater. But as clarity enveloped them, an unsettling thought flickered across Sarah's mind. What other shadows lingered that might rear their heads as they dug even deeper? What if their pursuit of understanding opened floodgates to truths that were painful yet necessary? "Do you think we're prepared for everything that may come to light?" she asked, a hint of apprehension lacing her tone. His gaze remained steady. "We can only confront what is right in front of us. If we do this right, it'll make sense. Together, we'll find a way to move forward." Sarah nodded, a sense of gratification rising inside her as she lightened the burden of her unresolved emotions. She was no longer just Sarah, the struggling mother or the protective sister. She was emerging as a woman willing to rewrite her own story, an active participant in her family's future. Days passed as they continued their dialogues, chipping away at the remnants of their bottlenecked anguish. Each conversation reminded her of the fortitude they shared beneath the layers of grief, a resilience that embodied their family legacy. Sarah recognized, too, that her own transformation was underway. No longer paralyzed by doubt, she stepped into her newfound confidence with conviction. With every revelation, she discovered pieces of herself long buried beneath inherited shame. She had become the architect of her destiny. Just as she began to sense an unshakable foundation being laid, her brother turned to her one afternoon, a determination tinged with vulnerability burning in his eyes. "I think it's time we acknowledge Mom and address how her decisions impacted us," he stated firmly yet compassionately. Sarah felt a stirring in her chest, and she took a moment to reflect. Yes, we need to face that truth, but instead of letting it weigh us down, we'll use that understanding to determine what we truly want for ourselves and for the twins. With every word spoken, they ventured toward the apex of their journey, blending pain and purpose into a transformative exploration. The truths they slowly uncovered illuminated a path forward, one where they would not just survive but thrive, learning to bridge the chasms of their past with courageous bonds. In that light, not only were they brothers and sisters negotiating their familial ties, but they were also sparks igniting a fire, fighting for renewal, healing, and a future that would resonate with meaning. As Sarah looked into her brother's eyes, she embraced the unwavering trust they had cultivated, feeling solid ground beneath her feet for the first time. The shadows that once loomed overhead now flickered like fleeting whispers, paving the way for a legacy built on love, resilience, and authenticity. In that moment, Sarah knew they were not just rewriting their story. The past had become a launch pad toward an empowering future, solidifying the bonds of family unlike anything they had ever imagined. And as she took her brother's hand, a sense of fulfillment washed over her. The journey that lay ahead was bound to reveal even more. So many truths remained waiting, but now they faced them together, unified and unafraid. Every step they took forward painted a picture too important to leave unspoken, and Sarah braced herself for transformative discoveries that awaited them both, bravely determined to venture wherever the journey led. Your support is vital. This is the moment to show it. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire your journey. Leave a like now to help feed the algorithm and spread these powerful narratives. Your engagement makes a difference. Comment your reactions and theories about Sarah's transformative journey and share in the dialogue of reconciliation. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this empowering conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to join in on the movement. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.